How can you walk into a place and never walk out? I'm not talking about a horror movie or science fiction. I'm talking about something that happened in real life. In 2006, an ordinary bar in Columbus, Ohio, Brian Schaefer, 27 years old medical student, walked into the ugly tuna saloon at 1:15 a.m. on April 1st. Security cameras captured his every step, but they never, ever recorded him leaving. It's as if he was swallowed by reality itself. 17 years have passed. For boxes of evidence, hundreds of tips, zero answers. Today we're diving into the most impossible case in modern disappearances. Brian Randall Schaefer wasn't just another college student. He was the eldest son, the future doctor, the devoted boyfriend who was planning to propose to Alexis during a romantic trip to Miami. But Brian harbored a secret. Behind the facade of an exemplary student, he dreamed of forming a Jimmy Buffett-style band. Medicine versus music, responsibility versus freedom. A tension that might explain what happened that night. March 2006 had been devastating. His mother, Renee, died after battling a rare disease. Brian appeared to be handling his grief well, but friends noticed subtle changes. He was exhausted, stressed, emotionally vulnerable. March 31st, Friday, end of the semester, start of spring break. Brian had dinner with his father, Randy, who would later admit, "I thought he shouldn't go out drinking that night. He looked so tired, but I didn't say anything." "Why didn't you say anything, Randy?" That question would haunt him for the rest of his life. 9 p.m. Brian meets his best friend, Clint Florence, at the ugly Tuna Saloona, a typical college bar, loud, crowded, with only one main entrance monitored by cameras. 10 p.m. Brian calls Alexis, who was visiting family in Toledo. "Hey, babe, I'm going out with Clint. Love you." Those were the last words she would ever hear from him. The two friends go bar hopping around the area, having one drink at each stop. Arena District, short north, a typical college night out. But was there something different in the air that Friday? Some omen that no one noticed? After midnight, they meet up with Meredith Reed, a friend of Clint's. She offers him a ride back to the ugly Tuna Saloona. "Let's grab one last drink," she suggests. If only they knew it would literally be the last. 1:15 a.m. Cameras record Brian, Clint, and Meredith going up the escalator to the bar entrance. Brian appears cheerful, slightly intoxicated, but normal. Just another student enjoying the night. 1:55 a.m. The last image of Brian Schaefer. He's outside the bar, talking to two blonde women. The conversation seems casual, friendly. He says goodbye and walks toward the bar entrance. And then he disappears from the camera's field of view. 2 a.m. The bar closes. Clint and Meredith desperately search for Brian. They call his cell phone repeatedly. Nothing. They assume he went home without telling them. But Brian never made it home. In fact, Brian never left that bar. At least, not in any way we understand. The cameras that captured his entrance never recorded his exit. How is this possible? How does someone disappear from a location with only one monitored exit? Columbus police analyzed every pixel of the security footage. They saw Brian entering at 1:15 a.m. They saw him talking to the two women at 1:55 a.m. But in 12 hours of recording, they never once saw Brian leaving. "It's impossible," said the lead detective. People don't just evaporate, but there was an alternative exit, a service door that led to a corridor on the first floor connected to a construction area. The problem? It was nearly impossible to navigate sober, let alone intoxicated. The search intensified. Police dogs, divers in the Olentangy River, investigation of the sewer system. Posters throughout Columbus featuring Brian's distinctive tattoo, a stick figure from the Pearl Jam logo. And then came the first mystery within the mystery. Everyone who had been with Brian that night agreed to take a polygraph test. Everyone passed. Everyone except one person. Clint Florence refused. Why would his best friend refuse to take a test that would prove his innocence? Clint Florence, who had been with Brian throughout the entire night, simply disappeared from the investigation. As soon as the detective got involved, that's when he pretty much cut off contact with everybody. Remembered Derek, Brian's brother. Clint's attorney later wrote an intriguing letter. If Brian is alive, which is what I believe after talking to the detective involved, then it's Brian, not Clint, who is causing pain to his family. Wait, Brian might be alive? The police themselves believe this? Alexis, Brian's girlfriend, shares a suspicion. We always had the strong feeling that Clint would know where Brian might have gone. But she doesn't believe Brian ran away voluntarily. I can't imagine that he would just done that. What does Clint Florence know that he's not telling? And why, after 17 years, does he maintain his silence? September 2006, 6 months after the disappearance. Alexis calls Brian's phone every night, always going to voicemail. But this night, something different happens. The phone rings 3 times before cutting off. I kept calling because it was one of the best sounds I'd ever heard, she wrote on MySpace. The carrier said it was a technical glitch. But a ping was detected at a cell tower 14 miles from Columbus. Was Brian trying to make contact? Theories multiplied. Smiley-faced serial killer who drowned college students. Occult ritual by university secret societies. Alien abduction. Witness protection program. The most disturbing of all, Brian could have been a victim of crime inside the bar itself, with employees disposing of the body through the emergency exit. But the theory gaining the most traction is also the most painful, voluntary disappearance. Imagine the pressure Brian faced. Recently deceased mother, demanding medical career versus suppressed musical dreams. Serious relationship that perhaps scared him. The question that tormented him. Is this really the life I want? In 2008, after Randy Schaefer's tragic death in a home accident, something shocking happened. A message appeared in the online condolence book. To Dad with love, Brian, U.S. Virgin Islands. Derek Schaefer's heart nearly stopped. Was it really his brother? Investigation showed the message was posted from a public computer in Franklin County. A cruel hoax. But what if it wasn't? What if Brian really was alive, watching his family suffering from a distance? In 2019, a photo of an American homeless man in Tijuana, Mexico, bearing a striking resemblance to Brian, began circulating online. The FBI ruled out the possibility after facial analysis, but hope bloomed again in the hearts of those who still believed. Let's analyze Brian's psychological profile in those final months. Recent loss of mother, a known trigger for severe depressive episodes, extreme academic stress, internal conflict between family duties and personal desires, Forensic psychologists identify this as an emotional breaking point, a moment when individuals can make extreme and seemingly irrational decisions. Clint Florence's behavior also raises questions. Complete refusal to cooperate with the investigation suggests three possibilities: direct guilt, knowledge of compromising information, or deep trauma from losing his best friend. His systematic refusal to take the polygraph doesn't necessarily indicate criminal guilt, but it certainly indicates he possesses information he considers damaging if revealed. The central psychological question: will a young man in emotional crisis, under the influence of alcohol, in an unfamiliar environment, be capable of planning such a meticulous disappearance? Here's the detail that could change everything. The two blonde women Brian last spoke with weren't identified and questioned until 2009, 3 years after the disappearance. Why did it take so long? What did they say? And why did they never take polygraph tests, unlike all other witnesses? Even more intriguing, later analysis of the recordings revealed that Brian wasn't alone when he headed toward the bar entrance after talking with the women. There's a blurred figure, almost imperceptible, walking near him. Who is this person? Why has police never publicly commented on this discovery? And there's another disturbing detail. Ugly Tuna Saluna employees reported that on that specific night, there was a technical problem with the camera system between 2:05 and 2:20 a.m., exactly 15 minutes after the bar closed. Coincidence? Or a window of opportunity for an undetected exit? 17 years have passed since Brian Schaefer disappeared in front of security cameras. His father died without answers. His girlfriend moved on but carries invisible scars. His brother Derek continues searching, knowing he may never find the truth. This case teaches us something profound about the fragility of human existence. In our era of constant digital surveillance, it's still possible for someone to simply vanish. Should this reassure or terrify us? It also reveals how we deal with unsolvable mysteries. We create theories, conspiracies, fantastic explanations because our minds don't accept the inexplicable. We prefer an impossible answer to no answer at all. But perhaps the most important lesson is about empathy. Behind every missing person case are destroyed families, traumatized friends, interrupted lives. Brian Schaefer isn't just a fascinating mystery. He's a son, a brother, a boyfriend that someone still hopes will come home. If Brian is alive and watching this, your family forgives anything. Derek, Alexis, everyone who loved you just wants to know you're okay. If Brian is no longer with us, may his memory be a light for other families facing the agony of uncertainty. And if you have any information about Brian Schaefer's disappearance, please contact Columbus Police. Even the smallest detail could bring peace to those still searching for answers. Some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved, but that doesn't mean we should stop searching for the truth.